Hello and welcome to Higher Automation, a podcast brought to you by Hai Robotics. I'm your host, Michelle Dawn Mooney. Today, our topic is Show Me the Money, maximizing ROI with goods-to-person warehouse automation. Let's face it, there are two constant pressures in warehousing, the drive to enhance efficiency and the need to cut costs. And for many, embracing goods-to-person warehouse automation has become a key strategy to tackle these challenges head on. But as with any significant investment, understanding the return, both in the short and long term, is crucial. Today, we are going to explore how companies can not only implement these systems effectively, but also maximize their ROI, whether you are just starting to explore automation or you're looking to optimize your current setup. And we've got two industry experts from Hai Robotics joining us today. Matt Kelly is Director of Strategic Partnerships and Commercial Development for Hai Robotics USA. And George Peach is Technical Sales Executive for Hai Robotics USA. Thank you both for being with me today.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Michelle.
Looking forward to getting into the conversation. Before we do that, can I ask each of you, maybe starting with Matt, to give us a brief bio if you can?
Sure. So one of my main roles at Hai Robotics is really to help our channel partners. Our partner network is critical to Hai Robotics in our go-to-market strategy, not only as a way to really go after some big projects, but also, to provide that true end-to-end solution. We're just the picking engine within the operation, and to partner with some of our strategic integrators to provide the value across the entire work space of the warehouse is really critical. And then, part of my role as well is to also do business development. So that's part of my team in the U.S. to find and understand the needs of our end customers, and understanding the ROI and what a company is looking to get out of automation is critical to being able to provide that value.
And what about you, George?
Yeah, so I am a technical sales executive. So my main role here is obviously sales. Like Matt alluded to, we do work with a group of channel partners. So part of my job is dedicated to a group of those channel partners. So any opportunity that they come to and need a Hai robotic solution, I'm their lead liaison for that project, and also do work with our end customers from a full business development to proposal life cycle. So
awesome. Well, it's great to have both of you here. And of course, we're talking about how to maximize your warehouse automation ROI. Let's start here. Understanding goods to person automation. Matt, can you explain how goods to person warehouse automation works and what makes it particularly cost effective for inventory management and order fulfillment?
So when you think about goods to person, this really is the pinnacle of automation within the four walls of the operation. A goods to person system is going to eliminate all the walking that a person has to do throughout the inventory area. For us, as an example, our robots will go into a racking structure, grab inventory bins or cases, and take them to a person. So the miles of walking that an operator would typically have to do to fulfill an order is eliminated. So you just have a person standing at a workstation. The work is coming to them through robots, and they're able to grab out of a tote or a case, place it into a shipping carton, and it's shipped out very efficiently. So you're increasing the performance and the efficiency per person, but you're also eliminating how many people have to fulfill, are really needed to fulfill those orders, because you're not having them walk miles throughout a shift. But also, and a very important part of the goods to person system is actually maximizing the footprint that inventory is going to take up. So when you can put it on a very tight shelving, and instead of people having to go and get it, because a human being can only pick so high, we can go 40 feet tall. So our robotic system is really able to maximize not only the density and the storage footprint of an operation, but it's also eliminating all that walking and improving the efficiency per person. So it's really a multifaceted benefit as far as what goods to person, the value it can bring to an operation.
And when it comes to maximizing the ROI, it's really important that we know how to evaluate ROI, right? Because there are a few ways that we can do that, and it can get a little confusing. So, George, when it comes to evaluating the ROI of goods to person automation, what are some of the key metrics we need to consider?
Yeah. So first off, I think it's really important to understand the definition at its core, right, of what is ROI. So I like to understand, my understanding of ROI is it's a key financial metric that helps us evaluate the efficiency of the investment, right? So when you're in the customer purchasing automation, you have to evaluate, understand is that a good spend, right? Obviously, everybody wants the fancy, shiny robots in their warehouse, but doesn't necessarily mean it always makes sense. So an ROI is going to help each customer make that decision with the proper knowledge and intelligence behind it, right? So breaking that down a little bit, a few of the key components that we look at when we talk about ROI is the initial investment, our operational cost savings, and then the productivity gains that are come out of that. Breaking those three buckets down a little further, some of the hard metrics that we refer to there are going to be your storage density. So how much square footage of the building are we saving, right? So in your traditional racking warehouses, your traditional racking doesn't save much space, right? There's we call wasted space or empty space between racks, between boxes, between cases, between totes. Maybe not be able to go as tall as you'd like to go. So storage density and the ability to reduce your footprint is a massive metric that we look at. Throughput per labor point is another big one, right? So Matt alluded to having the numerous amount of pickers have to walk miles around a facility, right? Implementing automation and goods to person technology is going to allow that throughput per labor to be increased significantly. Meaning, like Matt said, when your operator's standing at a workstation, they're not having to move, right? The product is coming to them. And with the use of automation, it's typically at a much faster rate. So the operator is able to fulfill much more product and many orders in a much smaller amount of time. And the third hard metric that we typically look at is the cost of ownership. We can touch on that at a later point, but understanding how much is it going to cost us as a customer to run and operate the equipment, and also maintain the equipment for its full lifespan. And then a few what we call soft metrics that we look at are your order accuracy and your system flexibility, right? So in a manual warehouse, we tend to see a lot more errors, meaning wrong items picked, maybe the wrong quantity of items picked. So implementing robotics and automation, especially goods to person, helps increase your accuracy, right? So you have a lot more mispicks and miscounts, which in return reduces your amount of returns, which is a big cost savings for a customer. And the second point there being system flexibility. In today's world, customers are seeing rapid growth. And a big talking point is what's the feasibility, or how much is it going to cost me to physically pick up this equipment and move it to a new building if that situation arises. So I know I said a lot there, but those are a lot of the metrics that we look at and key components of understanding the ROI of a project.
I want to dive a little deeper when it comes to cost, because that is a crucial part of what we're talking about here today. So let's go into how long it takes to see that return on investment. Given the initial investment required for a goods to person system, what steps can companies take to accelerate their time to value? Are there specific strategies that have proven effective in shortening the ROI timeline?
Yeah, there's a few, but I think one of the things that companies have to do right out of the gate is understand their current state. A lot of companies, and George touched on something very important, when you think about accuracy, a lot of people don't understand the cost that starts to accrue when errors are made within the warehouse. And I think one of the things we see a lot is a lot of warehouses have to be taught and coached on really where some of their costs are being kind of found in the operation, so that we can provide the value and highlight that. But to kind of hit on your question right in the head there is I think time to value, you're going to get value right out of the gate with any type of goods to person system. But one of the errors I think a lot of companies make is that in that initial kind of go live process, if you really don't go through the training and the onboarding to understand how to utilize the system to its fullest, that will delay that time to value, and there'll be kind of a bumpy handover quite a bit. So one of the things that we like to do is we will be on site really probably a month or two after go live, ensuring that the customer understands how to drive the car. Essentially, you can't just hand the keys to somebody. You really do have to sit in the passenger seat with them and teach them how to use this system and really get the most out of it. That's critical. When you think about the time to value right out of the gate, having a partner like Hai and some of our partners as integrators as well, having that kind of long-term strategy where we're hand in hand together throughout that handover process and utilizing the system is very important to really achieving that ROI. And then you can kind of, extrapolate that further too. And you think about the long-term cost of ownership and how to maintain and how to handle spare parts and all the PMs that have to happen in order to make the system run over the long term the most efficient that it can. You change your oil on a car, just like any type of piece of equipment. You have to also maintain and understand how to maintain our technology over the long haul to really get that long-term benefit.
And to add to that, Michelle, a few points is, as Matt alluded to earlier, mentioned, is understanding your current state, right? Understanding what your business is currently doing. So when we look at automation, initial stages of projects, a massive amount of time is spent in data analysis, understanding the shift structure, the lines per hour, and a lot of technical information that's specific to each customer. So, and that being said, is every customer's ROI and their time to value is going to be different, right? So it would be a dream to say that everyone's ROI will be achieved in 2 years. That's just not a feasible statement, unfortunately. So understanding the size and scope of your system is going to play a massive impact on the time to value, right? So if you're a one shift operation that's only utilizing minimal labor to meet your needs, investing millions in automation is going to take you longer to see that justification come true, right? However, on the flip side of that is if you are a massive facility doing hundreds of thousands of lines a day, working 3 shifts, the ability to see your ROI quicker is it's more feasible, right? Reason being, you have more areas to save, right? So you have more labor to cut down on, you have bigger footprint to reduce, you have more throughput to cut down, or to make it, you have more throughput to get out the door quicker, right? So there's just more areas for opportunity, meaning your ROI might be more favorable. However, those systems are the bigger, faster systems come with a bigger price tag. So understanding the size of your system and making sure it's fit for your operation. Some people like to say, don't size the church for Easter Sunday, right? Meaning we all want to have the biggest, fastest system possible for that peak season. However, that peak season is truly a season, right? So when you look to scale or grow your automation to handle a very short timeline or period of time, that's going to be very costly because you're not utilizing all that automation for the duration of the year. So there's steps and things to consider. Like during that peak season, you would probably have to hire maybe additional labor, work extended hours and things of that nature. But typically it's a more economical and more friendly ROI if you're not building it for your automation for that peak season.
So we heard the terms long range, long term a few times, and I feel like we're living in a fast food society. We really want those, benefits right away, but it really is in the big picture. So I want to talk about the total cost of ownership and long-term value. Beyond the initial investment, how should companies approach the total cost of ownership when it comes to goods to person automation? And then what factors should they consider to ensure that their systems maintain long-term value and continue to deliver a strong ROI over time?
No, perfect. Thank you, Michelle. That's a great question. And I think this question arises quite early in conversation. And as it should, right? So understanding the capital spend at the beginning of a project is very critical, obviously. However, understanding what it's going to cost someone to run that system for its full lifespan, right? These are massive investments that we're talking about. So, and sometimes it's the most money a company or customer has ever spent before on an investment. So it is critical they understand what they're getting into and understanding how to maximize that investment. So a few, I'd say critical components to this question would be understanding your maintenance plans and understanding your any additional fees that might come along with the system, right? So when we're talking about robotics and goods to person and traditional ASRS systems, there's typically some sort of license fee that comes along with either the robots or the software, depending on the partner and how they structure that, right? So whether it's monthly, annually, biannually, understanding those costs and how to finance those or how to just how to make sure they're accounted for. And then the second piece of that was the maintenance plan, right? So we touched on it earlier with the how to maximize your time and value, and this plays into understanding the long-term value as well, is making sure the system is being utilized, right? So we touched on the peak season, and sometimes it does make sense to size your system for peak. However, if we're not doing that, we want to make sure you're utilizing your system as much as possible, right? So eliminating downtime, working the maximum amount of shifts, whatever makes sense for the operation to utilize the system, right? We don't want robots and automation sitting idle, because if it's idle, that means there's no value coming from it, right? So just understanding those components is big. And then the biggest, I think, factor to this is going to be understanding maintenance, right? So these systems are working hard. These robots do have moving parts, and they are getting wear and tear. So understanding the appropriate maintenance plan, and working with a partner like Hai Robotics, we would understand the operation and how hard the robots are working per se, and we would implement the appropriate timelines, whether that's bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, or whatnot. But we would implement a very strategic maintenance plan to make sure the robots and the equipment are being serviced in the appropriate way, and that to ensure the system is going to last its lifespan, right?
And I think too, there's another point to that too. When you can take it a little bit further, a lot of businesses are growing, and when you think about the investment you make in a technology and what the future looks like, a lot of companies want to understand how they're going to expand the system. And to stay in production when you're expanding. That's very important. You don't want your $10 million investment all of a sudden have to be offline for 8 months because you're expanding the system. And that's a big important thing for any business to consider when they're thinking about technology, is what technology is flexible enough that you can stay in production and expand and grow the system, so you still get that value daily, but you can also, plan ahead for the future and grow with the technology partner you choose.
So with talking about ROI, we have covered a lot of territory here, and we did talk about the challenges in how do you go about determining what that ROI is? A lot of factors included. And there's something that Hai is offering now to maybe make it a little simpler. How does that work? It's an ROI calculator, is that correct?
Correct. So it's available on our website, hairobotics.com. And really, this tool is meant to arm the customer with more information earlier in the process. These are big decisions. They're very complicated. And as much information as we, as the manufacturer, can provide to the customer and to the stakeholders who have to evaluate the technology, the better and faster the time to value is for the customer. So our hope is that people will go to our website, they'll look at the tool, they'll really get a very clear understanding of what they're going to get when they purchase a high-pick system, how quick that ROI is going to come, and what are the key benefits that they're going to get with using our system, really based on their operation as it is today.
And education is such a big part of all of this. And I'm sure that a lot of people learned a lot from your conversation today, but I also think that people might have some questions. They might want to learn more. So where can they go? Where can you send them if they would like to follow up on the topic at hand today?
Yeah, please feel free to find us on LinkedIn at Hai Robotics or on our website directly at hairobotics.com.
Matt Kelly, Director of Strategic Partnerships and Commercial Development, Hai Robotics USA, and George Peach, Technical Sales Executive for Hai Robotics USA. Thank you both for being with me today. Appreciate the conversation. Exciting things happening, and you're helping a lot of people, hopefully, with their ROI. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. It was a great time.
And I want to thank all of you for tuning in and listening to Higher Automation, a podcast brought to you by Hai Robotics. And once again, you can visit their website for more information on the conversation we had today, as well as so much more with Hai Robotics. I'm your host, Michelle Dawn Mooney. We hope to connect with you on another podcast soon.